One of the most important things that you need to learn, especially if you're in your 20s right now, is the ability to make decisions on your own. Make decisions independent of anyone else giving you advice or telling you what to do. And I'll tell you why this is important. When I was in my early 20s, I couldn't make decisions to save my life. I had to ask my parents, I had to ask my friends, I had to ask my professors, I had to ask everyone. I needed to get everyone's approval before I even lifted a finger, right? And that's because when I was raised in this very almost like scared mindset where if I do something wrong, I'm going to get punished for it, right? I'm coming from a Pakistani family where you get smacked in the face if you do anything wrong. So I was always really scared of making decisions that weren't correct. What that led to was while I grew up, I became an adult, I became 18, 19, 20, I would still have that same programming in my head where before I do anything, I need to ask, is this okay? Am I going to the right university? Am I going to the right program? Am I choosing the right program? Is this fee too much? Should I choose this course or that course? Which one is going to be better? And I'd always be asking either my dad or someone else, and I'd never make a decision on my own. Never. If I'm going to buy, say, a school bag, or if I'm buying a video game or whatever it is, I'll always have to consult someone else to make my decisions. And what this does is you never develop that ability to make those decisions yourself, to make choices in life for yourself. You're always going to rely on other people. Now, I've been lucky enough that when I moved abroad, I was so far away from my parents and I was doing a lot of things and I had to make my own decisions because there were so many things I was doing. I couldn't go back to my parents again and again and ask them about the decisions I was making. So there were a couple of times where I really went out there and made a couple of decisions. So I invested in a big coaching course. And we're talking upwards of $10,000 of my own money out of my own pocket. If I went to my parents and I said, I want to invest $10,000 into a course that's going to help me run a business, what do you think they're going to say? Absolutely effing not. Don't even think about it. You don't need any course. Stay in your job, stay in your current salary position and call it that. Because our parents, our peers, they're trying to look out for our safety. But at the same time, they don't know everything about how we're feeling, what we're trying to do, right? You might feel a certain way, but they might not understand it that way. If I told my parents today that I want to quit my job and I want to start my own business, they're thinking, well, you're giving up a steady paycheck to do something that might not work. Just stay in your job. Why do you have to leave it? Now, the problem here is this. Suppose you want to do something really bad. You want to leave your job and you want to start a business. And you've got that idea. And instead of executing it, you're relying on someone else to give you affirmation or someone else to give you the signal that, yes, this is a great idea, you should go ahead and do it. What the process looks like is you get an idea, you tell someone else, hey, this is my idea. They're not going to understand your idea the same way you do it. And especially if it's something that requires you taking a risk, they're going to try to talk you out of it. No, you should have a steady job. You should definitely not consider business. There's too much risk with it. Do you really want to do it? Why don't you just do it later? They're going to try to talk you out of it. So what are you going to try to do? You are going to try to talk them out of it. So it becomes this whole back and forth battle where no one wants to admit that they're right. And essentially what you're doing is you're creating this big barrier between you and making the decision. So not only do you have to convince the other person, now you have to convince yourself whether this is something you want to do. And that's maybe one person you're talking to. You might talk to 5 other people and they'd be like, no, this is not something you should do. I think you should do that. And then it muddles your whole decision-making capability and you don't end up doing that thing. You don't end up leaving your job. You don't end up taking the program you actually wanted to take in university. Maybe you don't maybe you don't even marry the person you wanted to marry because your parents said no. Because they don't know them the way you know them, right? So there's all these different factors where the more you share, the more you ask, the more you seek other people's advice, the more muddled your own decision-making becomes. You don't get to make your decisions in life. So I want to ask you this. Who is running your life right now? Are you the one making decisions for your life? Or is someone else making decisions for your life? If you had to quit your job right now, or maybe you had to switch your university right now, maybe you had to switch your university course right now, would you have to ask anyone else? Would you have to seek someone else's permission? And if so, are you really making your own decisions? Now, why is this so important? It's important because when we're growing up, we're seeking advice from our parents because we don't know any better, right? But there has to be a point where our parents people around us teach us to make our own decisions so we don't rely on other people. Now, myself included, and a lot of people I talk to who are in their 20s, in their mid-20s, their parents are still making their decisions. You are going to study accounting even though you hate accounting. You are going to this university because that's the university that I've decided you should go to. Once you finish your university, you are going to take XYZ course and ABC certification even though you absolutely hate it. And then you're going to find a job in an accounting firm where you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again every single day in a job you hate for the rest of your life. And that's a decision I've made for you. And I know so many people who are in this exact same position, where their parents are making their decision, their friends are making their decision, their peers are making their decisions. They are grown adults, but they can't make their own decisions because they've never practiced doing it. They've never practiced making their own decisions. They've always been spoon-fed or handheld by their parents or someone else. They never get to exercise that. So think about it like this. If every decision you make is being made by someone else, are you really living your own life? Are you really an adult who can't make their own decisions? Think about it. When do you finally reach that point where you're like, you know what? I can decide what I want to do. I can decide what path to go on with my career. I can decide which person is a good fit for me and which person I want to marry. I can decide which program I want to study. These are all things that rely on decision-making capability. A lot of people I talk to, and especially job seekers, I talk to a lot of job seekers every single day, and they're in their mid-20s, some in their 30s, and they still have their parents making their decisions for them. Now, I understand, especially depending on the culture, they might have paid for your education, they might have paid for you to go abroad. That makes sense. Seek their advice, but who makes the decision? If you're 40 years old, and your parents are still making your decisions, when do you become an adult? When do you choose to make your own decisions? The thing is, this doesn't go away. You think, once I'm in my 20s, I'll make my own decisions. No, your parents are still telling you what kind of job you should search for, what kind of opportunities you should search for. When you're in your 30s and you want to switch your job, your parents are still telling you what job to go for. When you're in your 40s, you want to start a business, your parents are still telling you, you know what, this is too big of a risk. When do you get to decide? When do you get to make your own decisions? So the message I'm trying to deliver is this. If you are in your 20s and right now the major decisions of your life are being decided by someone else, it's because you haven't practiced decision making. It's because you don't know how to be an adult right now, and that's okay. It's okay not to be an adult, but that means you really have to learn. You really have to learn to put a priority on your own ability to make decisions. Because if for your whole life you're always relying on someone else, I need to ask my mom, I need to ask my dad, I need to ask my friend, I need to ask my peers, I need to do research, you're always seeking advice, how will you ever chase something that you're really passionate about? Right? Suppose you had this amazing business idea where you love photography and you want to start a photography business and you're so excited about it, and then you ask other people and they're like, yo, you know what, you really shouldn't do it. And after talking to them, you decide, I don't want to do this anymore. The question is, did you really want to do it? How passionate were you about the project? Are you always going to rely on someone else who's not as passionate about the thing that you're passionate about to make that decision for you? Now, in your 20s, I know it may sound like you're not an adult, even though you are, but this is the time where you need to learn this skill. You need to learn because then you're going to be chasing things that you don't want based on things other people want, and you're going to live a life based on someone else's expectations of you. A fact bomb for you here is someone else's idea of your life is not your responsibility. You don't need to live someone else's life. You need to live your life. And if you want to live the life based on someone else's decisions, based on someone else's judgment, based on someone else's understanding of your job, then you can do that. But that's not a great recipe for a successful career, a successful life, or successful marriage. You need to learn to make your own decisions. What I need for you to do when it comes to education, when it comes to finding a job, when it comes to what you really want to do in your life, start making your own decisions. Stop seeking other people to make the decision for you. Yes, you can talk to them, you can get their advice, but it should never be like, I need this person to say yes before I can do it. Think about it. If you take some people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs, any of these people, do you think they were going back and forth with their parents? Hey, I've got this great idea. I want to drop out of my college and I want to do this. A lot of that decision making was done internally. They were making these decisions themselves. They knew people in their industry. They knew people in their close circle. They were passionate enough about what they were doing. They had enough faith in themselves. And that's what I need you to do. I need you to have faith in yourself. I need you to have faith in your own decision-making capability and practice being an adult. Practice making your own decisions. Once you do that, I am telling you, you will have a lot more success both in life, and you will learn based on your decisions what kind of decisions to make in the future, what kind of decisions to make in the past. If you've never made any mistakes, making any decisions, you will never learn how to make decisions in the future. And one day when you have a family and you have kids and they're relying on you, and you yourself never learn how to make decisions, how are you going to pass those skills along to them? So if you're in your 20s right now, start prioritizing the things that are really important to you in your life and start making your own decisions. I hope this helped out.